Welcome back, everyone. You guys know me, I'm Zell, and we have got to do the scale swap on this TRM Viator. At the time I recorded this, the white scales are leading by a slim margin, like 2 votes. So that's what we're going to put on. So if it changes later, it just happened to be the time that I had to do this video. And we're also going to look at what's inside. We are not going to take the thing fully apart because Marianne has asked me not to for very valid reasons that we'll talk about. But we are going to swap the scales and get a look at how this guy works. All we need is a Weehaw T6 and we're good to go. And let's check the screws while we're at it. And there is and they're okay. I'm not going to give them great, but they're okay. Let's see, let's get that one down in tight, and then we'll get you the Weehaw up here. These are a little better. They're all T6 with the exception of the pivot, which is, that's a T8. Let's go up one more. That's I don't think a T10 will fit in there, so, oh, it does. So, T10 on the pivot. I like the T10 on the pivot. Very nice to go to some larger size stuff. Anyhow, let's get the scale swapped. You guys wanted white. I kind of like the jade. It has worn pretty well. Carried this knife quite a bit with the jade on there, and it's worn a lot better than I would have thought. But we'll get the jade ones off there, throw them in the ultrasonic, get them all cleaned up, and put the white ones on. Because, well, you guys are mean. Because I have this feeling, I know Marianne says that these things will clean up real easy, and I have no doubt that they will. However, you guys know what my hands look like part of the time, and I just can't see this as going out good. But we'll give it a shot. Anyhow, there are 6 body screws. We can't get to the last one until we get the pocket clip off. Everything is T6. I am going to make a little fuss about T6. I know. Old Nick Shabazz probably, I didn't watch the video, probably should have, but pretty sure he made a fuss about these screws up here being T8 and the rest of them being T6. Okay, well, I'm going to make the opposite fuss. Well, actually, I'm going to make the same fuss he did. All the screws in the knife, with the exception of the pivot screw, and if you can get the pivot screw to be the same size, is always great. But going to T6 across the knife is always a bad idea. T6 screws generally are not good. Smaller. They're not, broached. They end up being cut by the screw machine and they're not perfect. And it's just part of the game with the T6 screw. The other part of the game is most all inexpensive knives use T6. And I'm talking the stuff you buy in the bubble pack at Walmart. They use soft, crappy T6s. So people take these really good T6 bits, or even the crappy ones they may have, and I say crappy, all the T6 bits would be good if you were putting them in good screws. But what happens is they put these in those crappy screws, and then they twist the ends of them, trying to get them out, because these companies put huge amounts of Loctite or cross-thread things, and it's just awful. And they twist the end of the T6 bit. And unknowingly, because, you know, they're not all tool guys, unknowingly they stick this bit down in your high-quality knife here, and whenever they do that, then they start messing up the good screws. Now, why is T8 better? Well, one, whenever you move to T8, most of those companies don't use T8s for the majority of their body screws. So you escape that. Also, the T8s are bigger. The screw machines that make the T8s do a better job, basically because the little recess for the Torx bit is bigger. So, yes, I'm rambling a whole bunch about Torx screws, and I should probably do this in a separate video, but there have been so many knives come across my desk with this same issue that we're going to talk about it for a minute. If you're going to commit on a good knife to a single screw size all the way across, if I can get this to focus, and it doesn't need to say T8H, it needs to say, there we go, there's a standard T8. It needs to say T8. And that's simply to protect you and your screws and make things easier for your customers. Now I know, and I said I didn't watch the video, but I'm sure what Nick said was he wanted a common screw size across the knife. Well, Nick and I have talked outside of YouTube and all that, and we pretty much agree that T6 is evil, and for pretty much the same reasons. So it's not a bad thing here. It's not. I just wish that whenever we got to a custom knife that, or semi-custom knife like this kinda is, that we would get to nice T8 screws throughout the knife. Even on a little lightweight like this, because you can get T8 screws. I don't know about stainless, but I know that in titanium you can get T8 screws with the same head size, same diameter of head as the T6s. So I assume you can do that in stainless as well. And I'm going to quit now. We're going to get these. We're going to look at how this knife works, because this little mechanism is super cool and super simple, and that makes it beautiful. We've got a standard pivot in there, and that pivot is running on phosphor bronze bushings. Nothing special there. However, where the special comes in are these cuts right here. We've got a relief cut all the way around there. You can see that guy. Relief cut on the other side of the knife. And down between those two bars that are now made, we've got a stop pin. That stop pin allows this knife allows its mechanism to work. Whenever we go to open the knife, watch this pin right here and those bars. There we go to open the knife, they lift up. And then as we rotate to the half stop, they pop down a little bit in the half stop. That's to hold it in the half stop. As we rotate it around further, it snaps down hard into the open position. And that gives us a knife that stays open really, really well. And it's in the class with the UKPK and the Bird equivalent as far as spring strength. And this is your spring. It is a relief cut out of your titanium. It's a brilliant way to do this, and I really, really like what Marianne and Three Rivers Manufacturing have done there. You know, I'm still not your slip joint guy, but what they're doing is very, very nice for the slip joint community. And because for people that need a slip joint wherever they may live, because they're doing it so simply and so effectively. That is probably your simplest slip joint design for a knife like this, but it's one of the most ingenious designs as well. Okay, I'm going to shut up. We're going to get the knife back together, because really, guys, there isn't a whole lot else to talk about inside the knife. I mean, you can get a good look in there. This one has the titanium backspacer. I'll grab up. I've got some of the other backspacers on the desk that I'm not going to put in the knife, because Marianne wanted you guys to see these different colors and know that you could order a knife with one of these other ones, and a couple of more actually, from the website whenever you order the knife. But the way they do that is they put it in for you and set the proper torque on these Phillips head screws. Okay, so why don't they want you to take it apart? Somebody's going to ask that, so let's go into it. We've got Phillips head screws. Why do we have Phillips head screws? Why not Torx? Well, they want to countersink down into this piece of titanium so that you've got a nice level spot to put your scale on. So that necessitates using the Phillips screws. Now, why don't they want you to take them out? Well, because it necessitates using the Phillips screws. Those little Phillips screws are notorious, no matter how high a quality screw you get, for stripping out, for the head stripping out, not the screw itself, but for the head stripping out, becoming impossible to get out of the little hole. And they don't want you to have to deal with that, so they ask that you don't take it apart any further than this, and they ask that you pick your favorite backspacer whenever you get the knife. So, you know, be conscious of what's going to be, what kind of scales you may want to put on it whenever you order the knife. Personally, I would either order a black, a carbon fiber, or this titanium. That way, no problems, it's going to match anything. Alright, I've rambled on enough. The knife is cool, the knife works really well, and I'm going to put these white scales on here even though it's against my better judgment. And you've got two sizes of screws here. You've got short ones that go in the scale, and you've got longer ones that go in the pocket clip. So, and what I have learned messing with this knife some is don't tighten the screws all down right away. Everything fits really, really good, but there's just a wee bit of wiggle in the scale, and you don't want it tightened all the way down till you got all 3 screws in and got them in past that little bit of countersink or counterbore for the screw head. Did I get the wrong screw? No. And, you know, here's what I'm talking about. You see we've got that little bit of counterbore there. Little recess for the screw head to set down in. You want to get all of them in there before you snug them down. Once you've got all 3 of them in there, snug them down, and you're golden. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. You know, some of you told me you wanted me to put the white on one side and the blue on the other. Alright, I just can't do that. That would drive me nuts. Can't do it, guys. You know, if it had a red blade, maybe. Or, you know, something. Red liners in it. But not just white and blue. Not happening, sorry. And one more. And you notice I'm not putting Loctite on these. I've had these scales on and off a couple of times, you know, kind of looking through things. And I haven't had any issues with these little screws staying in place. So I have not put any Loctite on them. What that tells me is they are keeping their taps nice and tight and, well, nice and sharp, and they're drilling the proper size hole or maybe even a slightly undersized hole before they tap out that titanium, because that's pretty tight down in there and it's holding the screws really, really well. Appreciate that. Also means that they are getting good screws, even though I went on a little rant about the T6 thing. Alright, so we are going to set this thing up for tip up left-hand carry, and that is simply because I have been carrying this as an offhand knife, secondary knife, for the past several days, and it seems to work really well in that position. It gives you that slip joint, non-scary knife. You know, it's that knife where you're not whipping it out of your pocket and going like that to carry around, and it's got that super slicey thin little blade that just works beautifully. And you know, if I were going to put these scales on for good, I would have used just a wee bit of Vibratite in them. But also, this knife is not going to have a whole lot of vibration going on, so thread locker may not be necessary as well as they've cut the threads. Anyhow, guys, that is what's inside the TRM Viator. Glad to get that out of the way. It'll make the review a little shorter because there's a lot to talk about with this knife. And really, guys, it is a good one. I'm enjoying using it. The .09 blade stock, nice and thin at the edge. Just really, really nice little knife that Three Rivers Manufacturing is putting together up there. We do have some very, very important things to talk about in the review, though, so hang on for that. And you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.